We are live. Welcome to another episode of Porter vs. Prada. Episode whatever it only gets better. You know what I'm saying? We hanging out today. Man, how was your week, Prada? How's your week, man?
It was really good, actually. I've been moving around. So, remember we had Sis Shanika come through. I went down to North Carolina over the weekend, seen some mobile home parks. It's like a business, man. Like it's real estate and it's business. So I'm thinking about investing in a mobile home park.
A whole park or a mobile home?
The entire park.
That's nice.
Boss moves.
Boss moves. Speaking of boss moves, we got my man Mike in the building today.
Big Mike.
Tell him who you are, what you do, real quick, short version.
Mike Handy. I invest in businesses, buy, build, sell them, and I help other people do that mostly now. A lot in the franchise space.
Nice.
Super dope. Super dope.
I like stuff like that.
So I ain't going to tell you where, but Mike lives where I live. You know what I'm saying? I'm poor, but I'm amongst the rich folks. Okay?
Don't put that out.
That's where you should. I like that. I like people thinking I'm poor. You okay? You know what I'm saying? Nobody jumps me, try to take nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't got nothing.
Nobody tries to jump anybody with credit cards, bro. Only people with cash get jumped.
They just bump into you and scan your pocket.
There you go. But that's insured, so it's all good.
So Mike lives where I live, and I bumped into him one time at a little outdoor barbecue.
Yep.
And we started chatting. He found out what I do with marketing and social media, and I found out what he does, helping people really build a business, find a business, mostly through franchises. I'm correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Franchises.
Right.
Some of your favorite names and some of the names you have no idea of that make tons of money. And he was putting me onto a game. And he had me actually at a different party somewhere else debating somebody else on his side. Was it you? Yeah, it was you.
It was me?
Yeah. I think it was, we'll get to it, but I think it was, you said franchise is dope.
Yep.
But because you're not allowed to do anything creative in the business, you can't build it.
Indeed.
You can't change anything.
Right. Yep.
But foremost, Mike, tell us how you started this thing. Tell us why owning a franchise is even a possibility, because it sounds like something only somebody with tons and tons and tons of money can do.
Right.
And I guess start there.
Yeah. So he's really kind of right, and we'll get to that as far as there are parameters and guidelines. But creative people can do things within certain guidelines in a franchise. But how I got here, just like a lot of people, I hustled. I worked in restaurants, all that stuff, and I thought I could do this myself. I built up a catering company. I did mostly box lunches for offices. Okay. I rented a warehouse. Me and my dad built an apartment in it. I had to go to the gym every day to take a shower. We built a kitchen and built a box lunch menu. You could pick your sandwich, pick your salad, pick your dessert, stuff like that. And it was assembly line, so it's easy. Built that up. Eventually, I had 3 kitchens, a retail store, all my family working there. Built it up about 3 years and sold it. And I always knew since I was young I was going to hustle. My dad was military, and I loved that. I loved the structure. I respected him. I loved everything, but I just knew I was different. I needed to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I couldn't do things. Most people, I think they're programmed. You got to do this. You got to go to college. You got to do more school. You got to get a job. I just never thought like that. So built up my first one, sold it, and then I realized I could do this. I could do it all day long, because the recipe for a successful business is kind of the same. It's different customers, different products, different services, but it's kind of the same. So I kept doing that bigger and bigger. In the 90s, I partnered with a guy. I got an investor, and I started orderup.com, because at the time it was just Chinese and pizza that you could order for delivery. Mm-hmm. So we created a dining guide, mailed it out, and we were like early in the .com thing. So people could go online about, just a few, like 5% would order online. 95% were call center, and real quick it went the other way. Built it up, positioned it to be acquired by food.com. So, sometimes when you build a business, people say you should have your exit strategy in mind, like who would buy this? And a lot of times a smaller business can do things that bigger businesses can't. So you build what they can't and you make that efficient, they kind of have to buy it. So sold that, took a little break. Unfortunately, I met my wife when I had a lot of money and no job. So I spoiled her and had 5 kids.
Wow. Okay.
Beautiful.
And dabbled in real estate and this and that. And I buy and flip stuff. And then somebody wrote an article about my company about doing food delivery in Small Business Opportunities magazine. And there was 2.2 million copies went out. Everybody starts contacting me and I already sold that business. So I packaged it. I was like, this is a software I use. This is where I buy delivery bags, this and that. And I got part of the software company. I bought part of the software company and I just sold those left and right. But I couldn't franchise it yet. Every time I asked somebody like, how do I franchise it? Would be an attorney. It was like, pay me $50,000 and I'm going to have you fill out all these forms. And I was like, that just doesn't seem right. Yeah. So, there is a barrier to entry with franchising. Everybody wants, it's not that difficult, but it's controlled by the Federal Trade Commission.
Right.
So you got to fill out certain documents, but if you get the right attorney to help you, it's not a big it's not a big deal.
Right.
So I sold it first as a business opportunity. So you can sell a business opportunity. You could tell people this is how to do a podcast, and you say, put it in this is a CD. This is how you get your people, and sell that for $500. You could do that all day long. So I did that, and because I had the software, I started seeing these guys kill it, and I started talking to them, and I was like, what are you doing different? And it's like, well, I'm working with hotels. I'm working with corporate, this and that. So I started learning what the best ones were doing and also the ones that were failing, what not to do. So I finally got to the point, I was like, I think I could franchise. Because when you franchise, there's a lot of responsibility. You're responsible for all these people, and it's very transparent. Whenever somebody goes to buy a franchise, the franchisor has to show them documents like this is how many franchises we've sold. This is how many failed. Here's their phone numbers. Real transparent. This is how much money we have in the bank. This is how much money the franchisees make. And it's real structured. So a great franchisor has all of it together. And it's hard to make a mistake buying a franchise because it's all right there.
Right.
But it's just people don't know what they don't know. And the general population and the news and teachers, and they don't tell anybody about this.
Yep.
But it's not difficult.
No, that's why we're here. That's 100%. Why we're here.
Yeah, we try to get the message out to them. You said something very key and very great in the beginning, which was you built up the business for 3 years and then you sold it, right? That's your first time doing it, of course, right? Mm-hmm. Did you have the vision to sell? Who was in your ear telling you that you could build this business up and possibly even sell it? Because most people don't even know they could sell a business, let alone build it up and cash out or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So I was lucky. So my dad was military. He's enlisted, so he wasn't an officer. He worked in the ER, and I loved. He was my coach. He was my mentor. All that stuff. Great man, but I just knew that wasn't for me. Somebody telling me to put on this uniform and tomorrow you're going to go to Japan and all that stuff. My mom, on the other hand, she was real quiet. She's a homebody, but she was living through me. So she was like, you need to listen to this tape. Because early on I was like, I'm going to be rich. Yeah. I'm going to make a lot of money. I hate being poor. Right. I hate that because in the military you have enlisted and you have officers. And the enlisted people live over here, and we lived in a building with 4 families. And the officers live on this hill, and they got this nice house. And I was always like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get that. And I played sports, and I did real well in sports. So I beat up the rich kids. No, but I just knew I was not going to be in this situation to put my kids in this situation. It wasn't terrible. I learned a lot, but I just knew. So my mom would give me these tapes to listen to because it was way back in the day. I'm kind of old. And one of the best, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay.
That helped program me.
Okay.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the thing. So, and anybody thinking about business, they got to listen to it. It tells a story. You've read it?
Absolutely.
Robert Kiyosaki.
I mean, that really programmed me because I was like, my dad's that poor dad. Good man, join the military because you can never go late on your rent or anything. Everything's paid. It's so secure. But he's never going to go beyond this.
Right.
Never. And I was just like, I'll take that risk. I'll work hard. I'll do whatever it takes to get to that point.
What age was that? That you were here?
I mean, since I could remember, I was talking about, being rich and everything. So we moved from Japan to Ohio.
So you lived in Japan?
Yeah, I lived in Japan.
Wow, okay.
So, I mean, it was great for upbringing, like, as far as having a diverse upbringing. I mean, I lived California when I was younger. I lived out in the middle of Nebraska. Like, when I say the middle of, there was like a small town, and then we were actually at a radar site with missile silos. It was way out there, just corn. And super diverse. So I learned to adjust. So, and unlike my brothers and sisters, they were like, oh my God, we moved in. I was like, there's going to be new girls. There's going to be new stuff. It was like an adventure.
Right.
But it was 10th grade, probably 10th, 11th. And everybody else was like, which college am I going to go? And I still got into college. She helped me with that. But she had me start listening to that stuff. And I listened day and night. So junior year, I really started listening, just brainwashed me.
In a good way.
And I went to college to learn business. And I just learned like the history of the Rockefellers. There wasn't anything like this that I know. It was very disappointing.
Wasn't know how to. So for the people that don't know, because some people may not know, what is a franchise?
Okay, so a franchise is when somebody like me, so when I franchised my company, I built it up. I sold like 100 business opportunities. I watched what they did. I built one myself that did about $2 million a year before I sold it. And it was a machine. So at a certain point, somebody that knows how to build a model, they're like, I want to scale this. I want to grow it. You can do it one of two ways. You could put up the money and say, I'm going to open this one and everything. That's what I tried first. I was like, I was in Orlando. I'm going to open one in Tampa. But going back and forth, now I'm working like 40, instead of 40 hours, I'm working like 60, 80 hours. I was like, how does anybody scale to be like 100 locations? And everybody's saying franchising. So I looked into it. So basically you package what you do. This is what we do. This is the best way to do it. We've done it for years. Like, this is how you greet people. This is the software you use, because you package it to where it's a machine. If you work it, if you work the model works every time.
Creating true SOPs for the business.
Yeah, standard operating procedures, training, everything. So the franchisor becomes more of, it's like going from a quarterback to a coach. So I was ready for that in my life. I was like, I want to empower other people to do what I did, make money. And actually, most people out there, there's not a lot of people that are true entrepreneurs. Like, you want to create, you want to be able to create. I want to create. Most people are what I call entrepreneurs. They want to own their own business, but they don't want to reinvent the wheel. They're not trying to make all the mistakes and everything. So somebody does that and says, here's the package. And then not only that, they provide ongoing support because, somebody could just help you open up a business. But then what do you do when it's tax time? What do you do when you need more marketing? Right. What do you do when the climate changes in the industry or whatever? So corporate provides that corporate infrastructure. Like, they got a CFO, a COO, and everything, and they're like, here's what we're going to do. COVID hit, here's what we're going to do. Most franchises made it through COVID.
Right.
Because corporate was like, we're not going to charge you royalties. Here's what you're going to do. And also, all the franchisees network. And we listen to the top ones. They're like, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? So, I mean, I would say franchising is like family. It's not for everybody. Because if you're a true entrepreneur and you want to take risk and get all the money, then franchising isn't for you. But most people, especially like people in corporate America, they're like used to that structure.
Yeah.
But they want to get out of the rat race because, some younger guy is going to come and take their job at some point.
Right.
They transition over, and then what I do is kind of help them, guide them to the right franchise that's a fit. You know, and I teach them, you got to follow the model.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about next was, you know, you were telling me about people come to you and say, yo, I want a McDonald's because it's everywhere. And is it the most popular franchise?
Yeah, it's the most popular franchise. It's not the most, it's the most successful.
Successful, okay.
Yeah, but actually Chick-fil-A is bigger than them now, more profitable, but Chick-fil-A is not a franchise. Chick-fil-A is all owned by the Cathy family. So what they did is it's really kind of smart. They own it, they build it, they own it, and they put it out there that we're looking for like owner operators.
Right.
And about 1 out of 600 people goes through the process and makes it. Because they, you know, some franchises are real faith-based.
I think you have to be Christian for Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you not only got to be Christian, you got to be like already 1 foot in heaven, I think. Because
I've heard a few people say they've been through that process and got denied.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. It's
so Chick-fil-A
is a low entry too, barrier entry. You don't need much money to get involved.
10 grand.
I did 10 grand. Yes, there it is. But you don't own.
You don't own jack.
Yeah,
they're just holding your 10 grand.
Right.
They're like, let me hold this, and if you get a DUI, I'm gonna give it back, and you're done.
Chick-fil-A is bigger and more profitable than McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
The Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
The Big Mac.
All of that. Yeah. No, they're pretty big.
Think about it. What's a meal at Chick-fil-A? You don't have a name for it.
Chicken sandwiches, bro.
McDonald's is bigger than Chick-fil-A. Tell me what bigger means. There's no way. There's a McDonald's on every corner.
Bigger. They may have better revenues.
Okay.
Higher dollars. You know, so they charge a little bit more. And you ever see, especially down south, I mean, they got 2 drive-throughs nonstop.
Yeah, they're
people
pumping.
going through get that sweet tea and number one.
Yep.
You know, that's what I get.
I knew it.
People go through and get
the way he looks like number one.
Extra pickle.
Oh man,
no, it's super profitable. McDonald's. So yeah, McDonald's averages on the low end 1.3 million, 2.3 million to get in. So not everybody can invest to get in. That's
what
to
does
get
that
open.
mean? You're giving them the money, and what does that money you give them do? Like, what's that money for?
So there's a franchise fee. So a lot of people say McDonald's franchise fee is probably maybe 50 grand. So everybody has a franchise fee. That's kind of an entry fee. Also to do the paperwork after you go through the qualification, because you have to be qualified. They're not just letting anybody in.
What are some of those qualifications?
Financial, of course, you have to have the financial wherewithal. You have to have that 1.3 or 2.3, or be able to get a loan, Small Business Administration, SBA loan, or something like that. Or a lot of people from corporate America pull from their 401k. They'll pull from their home equity. They'll put some cash in there. As long as they have 685 credit or better, and some cash, there's certain organizations that will give them a loan. You know, so they'll get the money for it. Rarely do people just throw their own money at it. You know, you use other people's money to fund it, and then use the business to pay back the loan.
Correct.
Yeah. So McDonald's, though, their royalty is like 12%. So after you pay your franchise fee, they say, okay, here, sign this. You have this territory. It's these 3 zip. You know, nobody's going to be this close to you, and they help you find your location if it's a standalone or whatever. They tell you, they send you all the stuff. They help you with the contractors, but you don't really make many decisions, which a lot of people like. They're like, okay, you go to like McDonald's University, learn how to do that, but the training, everything, nothing is to guess.
Yeah,
it's all there. So people like that. But the royalty is about 12%.
The
royalty is like your ongoing fee for ongoing support for them to be there.
So you pay them that royalty.
Yeah, they take it off the top. So if you did
this is annually?
It depends.
Daily.
It's on the gross revenue. So if you're doing
12% of the gross.
Yeah, 12% of the gross. So McDonald's still, the average owner is going to make about 15%, because McDonald's owns all their own vegetable companies, chicken company, everything. They own that, so the costs are a little bit lower.
So it's their chickens, their potatoes.
Yeah, they own they own the whole network. So yeah, but you're making about 12% on an average, like 2-3 million.
So what's an average franchise McDonald's owner make per year?
So about 12% on about 2 million. So a couple 500,000 a year. But most of them own multiple locations. Most of them own 3, 4, 10 locations.
Now, I heard through the grapevine, don't know if it's true, certain franchises, you have to buy more than one. Mm-hmm. That's wild. Like from the beginning, like you come in, you got to buy 3 of these.
Yeah. Because a great franchise, see, I was a franchisor. I had like 50 locations, built that up. And it's easier for me to communicate with one owner than it is 3. And also because I'm providing call center, I provide marketing, I provide all this stuff. It's easier for the owner just to hire management and run them. It's actually easier to scale a franchise because corporate's got a lot of responsibility. You know,
so you got to hook it up that I make the next jingle for McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That's good money right there.
Yeah. Is it easier to sell a franchise?
It's not hard. It all depends on why you're selling it. You know, if you're selling it because you just want to be on the beach somewhere, you want to cash out, you got good cash flow, everything's working. Then yeah, it is a little bit easier, because a big fear when you buy a company is, if I pull this person out, is that still going to run the same?
Right. Yeah.
You know, or if you're buying a company and there's something wrong, it's like, yeah, I'm selling it, our sales are down, this and that and the other. It's like, why?
Yeah.
You know, so the franchise, it comes with the franchisor. They're going to teach you, train you, and support you.
Yeah, that's true. So how about all right, so right now, just a story of mine. I'm involved in a roll up, right? We're buying a bunch of businesses for people that out there, because Chris is like, what the hell?
Well, you got to tell people
what a roll up is.
I know fruit.
So fruit roll up. This is definitely not that. So we're buying a series of businesses, package them all together to sell it as one, right? That's simply what a roll up is. I'm thinking, in terms of that, how does that apply to a franchise business? And also, it's a two-part question. Can you go public with, well, obviously, because McDonald's public, right? So you can go public. You could build a franchise and go public and obviously get more multiple on the exit, right? Sort of like that. Does it work kind of like that?
Kind of, but it's tricky, because when you're a franchisee, you're obligated to the franchisor. They really own the trademark, the name, the business model, all that stuff. When you buy a franchise, what you're buying is the right to own, to operate their business model in a particular area for a particular period of time, like 10 years. And now you do own the business there, and you own all the customers and the income and all that stuff. And you can sell it, but basically people are buying cash flow,
right?
You know, and the right to operate it, but they have to still go through the vetting process and be approved. As far as a roll up, there are companies that specialize in buying franchises, you know, like Five Guys or something, and they'll buy, like Shaquille O'Neal owns hundreds of franchises. He loves that because he has people. You know, the benefit is you're buying a business that already has a model. The franchisor is responsible for providing training and everything. You basically just have to put good managers in there.
Right.
As far as selling that, yeah. I mean, let's say, you know, I own 50 Five Guys or whatever. Yes, I could sell them. As far as going public, I'm not sure. That may not be possible, because you're still obligated to the franchisor. Whoever buys that has an agreement with the franchisor that I'm going to work the model.
Right.
I'm not going to mess up the name. So I don't think just as a franchisee you can. Now, there are roll-ups. You know, I work with Princeton Equity. and they own a bunch of franchises: Massage Envy, D1 Sports, Massage Heights. Those they buy the whole franchise system. So they're buying the franchisor, and even though they don't own each one of those, they own the cash flow, the business model, and all that stuff, and they could go public.
Okay.
Damn. So, okay, let's go small to big. What somebody who's trying to slide up in here, what's the smallest franchise you can buy, and is it worth buying a small franchise?
Yeah, it just depends on what you want. You know, what are your goals? Where are you at? So, you know, that's what I do with people. They have their first idea, and they're like, I want a Subway or Dunkin' Donuts.
Because they like it.
Yeah, because they like it. I'm like,
That's usually
I'm like, I'm like, just keep going there and get their coffee. But I got other businesses here that are going to fit you better.
Right.
Like, do you want to work with 16-year-olds that don't show up? Do you want to work with perishable items that somebody drops one and now you got to sell 5? Do you want to work with, you know, average Dunkin' Donuts makes $84,000. You know, it's not, you got to buy 10, $84,000 a year. That's you just bought a bad job for $350,000.
Wait, that's impossible.
Average is 84. It's about that way for Subway too, but the average owner owns 10 to 30 of them. So they leverage money, they buy it, and in 10, 15 years, it makes money.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, that's not for me either.
I would have never known, never thought.
Really?
I was thinking about opening up a Metro PCS back in the day. It was only like $20,000 to start the store or something like that. I didn't even know if it was actually called a franchisee or a franchise. I don't know. I was gonna do it, but it wasn't making much money at the end of the day. So I'm like, why would anyone?
A lot of people do it
this?
because of emotion. I knew a guy that I was helping. He said, I was this close to buying a Subway. I was all the way at the final thing. I was getting ready to sign it. Was there a corporate office, and I realized I don't even know how much this makes. You know, it's actually all right there in the documents, and you could ask a franchisee. And then when he looked into it, it doesn't make very much money at all. It's a passion play. I always try. I'm like, keep an open mind. Let me coach you through this, and then at the end of the day, what you do for a living and what makes money for you can be very separate from what you go still have that coffee.
For sure.
Right? It ain't going to cost you a thing.
So then my question is, if Dunkin' Donuts makes $85,000 or whatever it is, right? How does that connect with having so many big time commercials, going to get LeBron James or a quarterback? How do you have that amount of marketing? So Subway charges 11% royalty, which goes to corporate a lot. So you don't have to think as an operator. You don't have to hardly be there. Charges 6% marketing fee. Every Subway, off of every dollar, 6 cents goes to corporate, and they use those marketing dollars.
Yeah, that's genius, though.
Yeah,
they keep the brand going.
$5 foot long. I told you I want to do the jingles, man. Those jingle guys die out. There gotta be a new jingle guy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's
I'm very capable.
That's right.
So if I want to make an extra, let's say 5,000 to 10,000 monthly cash flow, what will be an ideal franchise to get into?
So
it's too low. It's 84. I'm looking at 120. Yeah, it's not enough.
So one of the easiest, simplest, least risk things is vending machines. Vending machines. You know, there's a couple brands, and they could customize them for you. You can put your picture on it. You can make it themed. Like you can make it. This is a pharmacy.
That's my style.
Put Tums in there and everything.
Yeah.
They cost about $12,000 each. They bring in about $800 average per month.
800 what?
$800 average per month.
Okay, I was just making sure.
You know, so you buy 10 of them, you could finance most of it. It is SBA approved. So usually if you're spending $100,000 on something like that, they're going to want you to have about 20,000 liquid. So, you know, and then the rest they'll fund. And the company places them for you, so you don't even have to mess with that.
That's really good.
Yeah. I know a guy that owns 130 in Texas. He's crushing it. Yeah.
And they're all in Texas? I always think about that when it comes to vending machines. I'm like, I feel like they're already everywhere they're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just my brain?
Yeah, but there's a lot of older ones that they'll replace, and the older ones, people don't keep up with them and everything. And the company that sells them is really good at placing them. And if they place it somewhere and it doesn't make enough money, they'll move it for you. Okay. It's real passive.
So on average, you're saying about 800. Could be less, could be more, but on average.
500 is the low end.
Okay.
And 1,000 is the high end.
So even at 500, what are we looking at? We have 2 years to break even? If we're buying them at 12 grand?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
if you're
not
putting
bad.
it back in, no. And you typically what they do is they just keep buying a few more.
Yeah.
Keep buying a few more, keep buying a few more. And, with everything, even, with COVID and everything, people are going more to they want that automatic satisfaction. And also you put one of those in like an Amazon warehouse or something like that with employees, they're going to crush it.
Might have to put a couple in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one. There's other ones that are marketing based. So that's one if somebody wants to be passive and have a side hustle that they don't have to put a lot into. There's an app on those that will tell you when it's low, and you just send in an order. A guy picks them up and takes them, and he has a route or whatever. You pay him a little bit, but there's those out there. One that's 75 grand, but some people, again, you gotta really know what that person wants, what they could do, what their skills are. They call certain franchises, they call a guy in a truck, and there's one that does furniture repair. You buy it, and they give you a truck, and they give you all the tools and the little die and the this and that, and they teach you. And then corporate put some marketing out there, and they book you. So I can see an old retired guy just like my dad just going out talking to people half the time. They're like, fix my furniture. He's like, well, my son, and that's a guy in a truck. So plumbing, all that kind of stuff. If somebody just wants to buy a job, right. there's those. They can make $75,000, $125,000 a year, but they're working it.
Right.
There's all kinds of different levels. Work from home.
Tell us about the what was it? The TRT one.
Oh yeah, that's really big. So it's called Game Day, and the guy, he realized that healthcare is difficult. Going through all the processes, and most guys at 40 years old and above, their testosterone goes way low. Right. They're contributing it to our food supply and everything, super low, and so it's called Game Day, and you go in there, and within 15 minutes, they do a blood test, all this stuff, and they prescribe testosterone. So they have testosterone. There's the new thing that makes you lose weight, the peptides and all that stuff. So that's really taken off. Anti-aging, real big right now. There's another one called Forever Young. Anti-aging, big money.
Dang. So how much is the TRT joint? Game Day.
So about $600 grand. Mm-hmm. But I think their average unit revenue is about 2.5 million. Yeah.
And what's the royalties on those?
The royalties on that are only like 6 or 7%.
Fair.
And again, your royalties, it all depends on what you get. Like I had a competitor that was charging 7% royalty. I charged 8%. People are like, I'm going to go with him because he's at 7%. I'm like, he doesn't have a call center. I have that, so you don't have to have people on the phone.
Right. I
mean, he charges you for your software. I don't do that. So you got to look at what,
right.
and when you're doing your due diligence on a franchise, you got to look exactly where does this go? What am I getting? Because at the end of the day, you probably have business partners that was like, we'll be 50-50. You do this and I do that, and they never come through.
Yep.
With a franchise, it's like I get 90% of the revenue. Corporate gets 10%. They got all kinds of responsibility. Yep. They're supposed to do all kinds of stuff. I take my 90 and pay my bills. They take their 10. It's actually a good partnership.
As a franchisor or a franchisee, should I be or should someone be thinking about the exit, or is it just more so?
Oh, yeah. Because it's a 10-year agreement. And usually, I got my feelings hurt when about 8 years into my franchising, my guys were coming to me and they're making, they probably invested 75, 100 grand and they're making 300 grand. They're like, Mike, I want to sell. Like, what? What'd I do? Why you want to break up? And they were like, I'm done. I'm done with drivers. I'm done with restaurants. I'm just done.
Right.
And they knew they could sell for $1 million or something like that. So it's just and you could exit easy because again, you're taking out maybe a person that now by that time he's very semi or passive.
Yeah.
And corporate's still there doing all their stuff. So it's very sellable. But I think always, I don't think, when people start a business, I think that you have to plan for an exit, kind of like a prenup,
right?
But you don't focus on it. You don't focus on it. You plan up front, so it's there just in case, but you don't focus on it. You just need to know what would I do, or what at this stage in my life, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, as a franchisee, it's probably very easy to exit too because all your numbers are aligned, right? The accounting's there, everything is nicely, neatly packaged. We vet a lot of businesses, when we try to purchase, and it's a mess. It's a super shit show just trying to figure out if this business is actually profitable. But the franchise businesses, I'm pretty sure, is much easier.
Because the franchisor has to list every year all the failures. Mm-hmm. They have to list that in their franchise disclosure document. Everybody that comes to them that's interested in buying a franchise, they have to give that to them. They have to redo it every year. If somebody fails, it's right in there. Mm. So when a great franchisor, and not all of them are great, a great franchisor is looking at all the KPIs, all the reports, and they're like, hey, your sales are down. What's up? We see your labor numbers are down. You got to hire people. So they take a department like, help them, get them up to where they need to be.
Right. I want to step back a quick second and just on the business side, for people that are trying to build businesses, because obviously as a franchisor, you had to be genius enough to see certain things and package things. And it's not like you copied off anybody, right? You were the visionary before it became 50 of them, right? So what departments are you making sure that you have in each business anytime you go into it, no matter what business it is?
As far as a franchisor?
As an owner, franchisor, what departments are necessary to have and instilled in your business to make sure it grows and is scalable?
So, as far as there needs to be that one leader, that visionary, whatever, there has to be that person. As far as departments, you have to have the accounting. Mm. You have to understand the numbers. You got to start out with the business model. Like, if we do 100 of these, what does it look like at the bottom line? So many people, they skip that.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm pretty sure, or it'll be busy or whatever. The accounting, they have to understand accounting. They have to understand a business model. Expenses, revenue, expenses, profit, and also the percentages. Once you get big, one thing I learned is once I really started scaling and getting big, it wasn't about the numbers as much as it was about the percentages. Mm. Is when you're checking out, because I realized, now we have 50 locations. We're doing millions in business. How do I find out where the problems were? Well, labor used to be 20%, and now it's 25% or 20. So that's 5% higher. If I was just looking at numbers, it would be 347,000, 420,000. I wouldn't know if that's high or low, but when you look at the percentages, so somebody has to know the business model, the accounting, and how to look at that. Every month, I look at those numbers and make sure they're in line. That's how I can tell if there's a problem in a big business. You can't just walk around and go, this department looks fine. This department, you look at those numbers and you're like, oh, we need to hire people, or we're spending too much money here. So accounting has to be good. It depends on the type of business, of course.
Right.
But, I feel one of the most important things is, talking about customer service, you got to care. You got to have some sort of passion. It never works if you're all about money.
Right.
It'll work short term.
Right.
You got to have a little passion.
Right.
Sometimes people are just passionate about money, but
So I want to jump to something else. Same thing, but you have people who buy franchises, mm-hmm. and then you have you who help people get into franchises, mm-hmm. and then you also create people who turn into you to help other people to buy franchises. Can you tell us about that? Like, that's a whole gig that people don't know is a thing. You can become a what? What do you call it?
A certified franchise consultant. Yeah.
And you can help other people find a franchise.
Yeah. So when I sold my franchise system, cashed out, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was a business broker too, and I didn't enjoy, like, I was good at it, but people would say, hey, sell my business, and I'd evaluate it, I'd list it, I'd help them sell it, but usually I had to, like, help them fix all the garbage so they could sell it. Half the time they'd just go, well, thanks, I'm not going to sell it now.
Yeah.
So I looked at franchise consulting, and I was helping consult franchisors to grow, and there was a little money in there, but they didn't have a ton of money yet. So they couldn't pay me a lot. I was getting some equity here and there, but that was a lot. And I met my buddy, and he was like, I'm starting this franchise consulting network, and he's a programmer. And, within real estate, you have agents and you have an MLS, and the agents help people. They search the MLS based on what the criteria of the client wants. They can find the house, and then they get paid by the seller. Okay? So buying a franchise was getting really a mess. People go onto Google, they're like, and they get lost still today. They're going there and they get lost, and they don't know how to evaluate an FDD, a franchise disclosure document. They don't know how to do their due diligence, and they're talking about their life savings and their lifestyle they're putting on the line. So he created this software to where you could go in and basically be an agent for these people that want to find a franchise. And he got the franchisors to agree to pay the consultant to refer them and coach them through their discovery process. So this is like 10 years ago, and I was like, that's clever. I'll help you out. I got other things going on, but I'll help you out. I bought a restaurant at the time with Brandon Merriweather. We had that for 5 years. He was a Patriot, and other things.
Patriot meaning NFL.
NFL, yeah. And other things. And I was just busy, but I saw this thing growing. More and more franchisors wanted consultants to help them, because the consultants were going to kind of educate the client, coach them, and take them through a process. So now we have over 600 franchises, over 500 consultants. We make $30,000 a pop whenever we refer somebody and they buy.
And that's coming from the seller. I mean,
that's coming from the franchisor.
Yeah. Correct. Okay.
So, because their revenue model is based on the royalties in the future. So what happened is I said, this is pretty sharp. We should create a training program to train people, because they don't know how to do this. I could do it because I was a franchisor. I was a business broker. So I created the CFC certification 8-9 years ago, training and everything. We charge $25,000. We give them leads. We give them coaching. I did 4 hours today for 6 people. I do part here, part there. It takes about 30 days to get through it. You learn how to work with foreign investors, helping them with their business visa, learn how to use the CRM, the software, all that stuff. And you do one deal, basically one person that you coach, educate, and refer, and they do a deal. So, yeah, I do some of that too.
Really nice.
That's super dope.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's it's like a realtor for franchises.
Exactly.
He even has, like, his system is like an MLS, but it's all franchises.
Yeah.
And it tells you how much they make, where they are.
And is it no cost to the franchisor up front to get involved in the network?
So it used to be like $200 a month for them to get involved with the network. And then they wanted more access. They were like, how do I get more access to these consultants? So we started having events. So we have events. They're called regional mixers. And they pay money to be there. They spoil us rotten as consultants. They're like, we're going to Top Golf. They're like, we got a limo. They're spoiling us and trying to win us over. So there's those. They could pay more to be in our newsletter, our emails. We bought Franchise Wire, so we could put them in there. So they pay different levels. There's like
what's a Franchise Wire?
Franchise Wire, yeah.
What is that?
It's a digital magazine.
Oh, okay.
The franchise industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fire, man.
See, this is one of the things, you know, when we were doing this show, you know, we got real estate and, you know, mobile homes and credit cards. But I was looking for moments where like this, where like, what are the other things that are going to pop up that we have no idea they exist?
Yeah.
So buying a franchise is one thing, but being the middleman of helping someone get a franchise is a whole nother industry. Lucrative.
I mean, you got to think about it on a macro scale, right? There's always supply and demand, and there's really nobody in between to making sure that those supply and demands are met. Like you got Craigslist. That's basically what he is in the franchise world. He's the Craigslist of franchises. You know what I mean? Making sure the franchisor has a franchisee. Slap yourself in the middle. You kind of do that for just about anything in life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was pretty good that you guys were like one of the first to do that.
Yeah. We have our retreat next week in Miami. There's going to be close to 1,000 people there.
Nice, man.
The franchisors and the consultants and everything. We hired a president. He's like the front man. But Princeton Equity bought a majority stake of it last year.
Nice.
So that's why I'm up here. Just trying to help scale that, next level it, because you know what equity groups do? They want to buy it, and 3 years they want to sell it for 10 times.
Exactly.
So they got a lot of different franchises, so they could put me wherever in their other franchises. So
all right, so check this out. For all the people out there who are looking to make some money in a different way that's not already flooded and oversaturated, and you're getting a damn good income when you make a deal, how do they contact you or your company? What's the way to get into your class or schooling or training to be a franchise?
So IFPG.org is the site, International Franchise Professionals Group, IFPG.org, or they can email me, mike@ifpg.org. And I'll help them out.
Any prerequisites? You got to have at least 30 grand, or that's for the franchisors?
Well, no. For the franchisors, they can spend $200,000 a month to get in. Yep. If you want to be a CFC, if you want to go through the training and be a certified franchise consultant, it's $25,000. That gets you all your training, and it gets you about $2,500 worth of leads. People that are interested in maybe buying a franchise, they're not for sure. And then you could figure you want to have another $5,000 or so to put into leads, because of course leads aren't deals,
right?
You know, and usually you'll be good.
Yeah, and you kind of train them how to work the leads and everything.
Absolutely, that's what I was doing today. It's a step-by-step process. Your intro call, brand presentations, narrowing down, because the main job for a consultant is to really understand what you want return on investment, how involved you want to be in the business, what your passion is, and then they do, okay, let's look at these. And I'm going to give you a high level of these. You go, I like that one, not that one. And then you get them to the point to where they're interested, they're capable, they're ready, and then you refer them over to the franchisor, and you still kind of coach them through the process. You're like, here's what you're going to do next.
And how long are they with you guys?
Usually, as far as the training?
Yeah, so after the training, how long is the training?
Training takes about 30 days total.
Okay, and from that point on, how long are they with you guys? Until they score a deal, until you guys bump them up to a franchisor? Or?
So they're usually, they're ready to go at that point. They get their leads, they start working people, they start presenting, they start referring. And if they have questions, they just ask. They could always go back through my training. But the process from initial contact with somebody that wants to buy a business until they buy is a good 60 to 90 days. Because there's like some holding periods. When you get your franchise agreement, you can't just sign it. They have to hold on to it for a 7-day holding period, just like a cooling off period.
Okay.
So, yeah, it usually takes, and it's not like a rush thing, because it's a life-changing decision.
Right. And you guys don't get a piece of that, right? That closing.
Correct. Okay. They get 100% of their money. We got guys making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got like 4 or 5 people qualifying. They're filtering out all the leads, and then they get the appointments, and they only refer. And I teach everybody only how to make the best. Only refer to the best brands within each category.
Right.
There's 4 or 5 like they check all the boxes. They're doing everything right, and they do real well.
Right.
Yo, that is amazing.
Yeah,
that is amazing. That is brand new. I will be working with you, Mike. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get to. I need my first million. All right. I need my first M. You know what I'm saying? However it comes, I'll take it.
And you got all these buffets coming at you. You got so many ideas at this point.
But that's always been my Achilles heel my whole life. There's so much opportunity that I just stay in the middle going, ooh, ooh, you know. But you know that song, don't you? The little Spanish chick. Anyway, thank you for coming. You got to come back. This was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike. Thanks, Big Mike.
Damn.
Me.
You know, we're going to have this up everywhere, your clips, and, you know, we're going to look that. Proud of you. Have anything on the way out?
Man, listen, whether it's buying businesses, whether it's franchising businesses, whether it's real estate, listen, opportunities are out here. Fix the credit, build the credit, get the funding.
Buy a franchise. Get it!